Good morning. It is Saturday, October 8th, 2016, and this is a Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew on the move up the East Coast, pounding Georgia after pummeling Florida. The deadly storm downgraded to a Category 2, but still packing 110-mile-per-hour winds and 9-foot storm surges.
And major breaking news in the race for the White House ahead of tomorrow's big debate. More trouble for Hillary Clinton as her Wall Street speeches are finally revealed, and Donald Trump issuing a rare apology.
And I apologize. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest.
Fox and Friends First starts right now.
This is Saturday, October 8th. I'm Pete Hegseth.
And I'm Kristen Fisher. Welcome to a special Saturday edition of Fox and Friends First. And let's get right to the latest on Hurricane Matthew.
Wow, incredible footage. Scenes like this playing out across people's backyards across the entire East Coast.
Matthew is wreaking havoc as the Category 2 storm moves up the East Coast as it sets its sights on South Carolina. Historic cities like Savannah and Charleston caught in the crosshairs.
And unfortunately, at least 4 people are dead in Florida, and major flooding is expected to continue today.
We have live team coverage this morning. Rob Schmidt is in Savannah, Georgia. Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean is tracking Matthew in the Weather Center. But we start with Leland Vitter live in Daytona, who has been covering this from the very beginning. Leland, good morning to you.
You know, Kristen, a very good morning to you from Daytona Beach, Florida, where the most important thing is what you don't see, and that is any lights behind us. 1 million plus people now out of power. Power outages could last for a couple of weeks, and if you ever spent some time in Central Florida in October, you know just how miserable a couple of weeks without power can be. Destruction, not catastrophic, but certainly significant, especially to the business owners like these folks behind me who lost their gas station. For folks who are driving around, the real issue, of course, is all the debris. Things like this. This is a sign from the gas station, one of those gas price signs. This, boards with nails, all litter the roadway, sheet metal everywhere, making it very dangerous for folks trying to get around. Where it is perhaps the most dangerous in terms of the actual damage right now, St. Augustine, Florida, a place we cannot even get to because of the storm surge flooding. And this was truly a perfect storm as the eye of Hurricane Matthew moved up the coast of Florida. It coincided with high tide, pushing all that water even higher. A number of rescues there in St. Augustine, Florida, as people were trying to get out and the storm surge was happening so quickly. Going forward, biggest problem here, what you don't see to the untrained eye is what Marco Rubio pointed out to us yesterday, is the beach erosion here, where tourism is a lifeblood in Daytona Beach. It is going to take a lot of time and a lot of money to repair that and get ready for spring break here just a couple of months away. Another place tourism is a key to a community, Savannah, Georgia, and that's where we find my colleague Rob Schmidt as Hurricane Matthew makes its way north. Rob?
Yeah, Leland, thank you so much, and we are just getting pounded right now here on River Street in Savannah. This is as bad as it's been. We've been doing these live shots since 7 o'clock last night. We are only about 20 miles from the eye of this Category 2 hurricane at this point. It is just offshore, near Tybee Island, near Hilton Head Island, and we are really feeling the brunt of this storm now. 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts, maybe more. It's hard to tell at this point, but this is as bad as it has gotten. And it's one of those right now, if you can still hear me through the microphone. I want to show you back here behind me. This is actually some great news for the people here in Savannah, especially for these small business owners. A lot of great people have businesses here along River Street here. This is as low as it gets in Savannah. We're just about at sea level. And behind me, this was like a big swimming pool just about an hour ago. But now the Savannah River, which divides South Carolina from Georgia at this point, it's taken a lot of that water back in. So Savannah, it looks like, is going to be just fine. We did go for a little drive about an hour ago as well. We went up for a little tour between live shots. We saw a lot of downed limbs. We saw some, localized flooding, but nothing too bad. And we were worried because there is so much history in this city. This is such a special place. It has so much great history. We didn't want to see anything destroyed. It looks like it's going to be all right now, but we are getting nailed by winds, feeling a big part of the brunt of that storm, the worst we've seen over the last 7-8 hours. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Rob Schmidt, clearly in the worst of it right now, or some of it at least. Thanks so much, Rob. Stay safe out there. And let's get to Janice Dean right now.
That's right. Janice, she's tracking where Matthew is headed next, live in the Fox News Weather Center. Janice, you've done a great job breaking this down for us. What are we seeing this morning?
Well, we actually might have a landfall, the first landfall from this hurricane in over a week. So the next couple of hours, watching the center of the storm come onshore in South Carolina. And we just got the 5 a.m. advisory. Still a Category 2 storm, still a formidable presence along the East Coast. And I think the worst of the damage from this storm is happening right now along the southeast coast. So there's Savannah up towards Charleston. We are dealing with the potential of a landfall in the next couple of hours and the devastating impacts of storm surge, hurricane force winds, and rainfall of upwards of a foot. We will be covering this throughout the morning, throughout the weekend, even into early next week.
Janice, thank you. You heard it. I mean, the worst happening right now. So
Yep.
we'll be right on top of this coverage.
Absolutely.
Tracking the storm all morning long. Well, from one storm to another, we're just one day away from the second presidential debate in St. Louis.
This morning, both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's campaigns are in full damage control mode as brand new Fox News polls show Clinton's nationwide lead over Trump shrinking to just 2 points.
That's right. Big political news day today. We have team coverage from St. Louis this morning. Mike Emanuel is following the Clinton campaign.
But we start with Fox News senior national correspondent John Roberts and a rare apology from Donald Trump. John, you know it's big news when you're getting an apology from Donald Trump minutes after the story breaks.
Yeah, good morning to you, Kristen and Pete. You know, Donald Trump finds himself in a place where no presidential candidate wants to find themselves, with 1 month to go until the election and some prominent members of his party running away from him as fast as they possibly can. This is all because of a hot mic incident that was caught on camera, on tape, back in 2005, made public yesterday. Donald Trump was doing an Access Hollywood program on a bus, speaking with the host, Billy Bush, about women, saying some rather vulgar things about women. Here's just a part of what that tape caught.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
One of the first casualties in the outflow of all of this was an event this afternoon at the Fall Fest in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. This was put together by RNC Chairman Reince Priebus, at which Donald Trump was supposed to appear on stage campaigning together with Paul Ryan for the very first time. Ryan, as a result of what came out yesterday, disinvited Donald Trump from this event. Mike Pence will be taking his place. Here's what Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, said about all of this. Quote, "I am sickened by what I heard today. Women are to be championed and revered, not objectified." Reince Priebus saying, quote, "No woman should ever be described in these terms or talked about in this manner, ever." And Jason Chaffetz of Utah, who kind of reluctantly came around to supporting Donald Trump, said yesterday, quote, "I can no longer endorse Donald Trump for the presidency." Late last night, the Trump campaign tried to stop the bleeding from all of this. We don't yet know what kind of an effect this is going to have. Shortly after midnight, coming out with a video apologizing. Listen here.
I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent time...
But at the same time that Donald Trump was appearing contrite, he reached out and took a swing at both Hillary and Bill Clinton. Listen here.
Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days.
As you can imagine, the Clinton campaign taking immediate advantage of this, fundraising off of it. Hillary Clinton releasing a tweet yesterday saying, quote, "This is horrific. We cannot allow this man to be president." The apology just beginning to sink in. It was released shortly after midnight last night. A lot of people have had an opportunity to see it. So we'll find out, Pete and Kristen, throughout the day, just what kind of an effect this has and whether or not Trump can, in fact, try to stem the bleeding here. Back to you.
Indeed.
Wow, John, that is what you call an October surprise.
Unbelievable. Yep.
And you know what? On any other day, this next story would be the lead. WikiLeaks drops a bombshell on Hillary Clinton's campaign, releasing her long sought-after Wall Street speeches. And now we know why she's been working so hard to keep them secret. This as new emails reveal White House and State Department officials working to crush media coverage on her email scandal. Mike Emanuel is at Washington State University in St. Louis with more. Mike?
Well, Kristen, Pete, good morning to you. Yes, all throughout this campaign, you've had Hillary Clinton's critics and even her former rival Bernie Sanders pushing for her to release transcripts of her paid speeches to some of the big banks. Now, a hack of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's emails reveals some information about some of those paid speeches. In a 2013 speech to a Brazilian bank, Clinton said, quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders." Clinton also reportedly said to be successful politically, you need both a public and private position on public policy. The hacked emails also revealed, according to WikiLeaks, that Clinton said she was far removed from the struggles of the middle class because of her and President Bill Clinton's, quote, fortunes. A Clinton campaign spokesman says they're not going to confirm the authenticity of stolen documents released by the WikiLeaks founder. RNC Chairman Reince Priebus offered this reaction, quote, "With today's WikiLeaks revelations, we are finding out who Hillary Clinton really is. And it's not hard to see why she fought so hard to keep her transcripts of speeches to Wall Street banks paying her millions of dollars secret." Now, Clinton is expected to be hunkered down near her Chappaqua, New York home, doing some final debate prep ahead of tomorrow night's big showdown here at Washington University in St. Louis. Pete, Kristen?
Mike, thank you very much. It will be a huge showdown. It was going to be big no matter what. Now you've got this morning, I mean, people are waking up to a new apology from Donald Trump and to WikiLeaks dumps of the speeches we've been waiting for a long time.
And, you know, that would have been huge news during the primaries.
Yeah.
Huge. That could have changed everything.
Well, it's transcripts of, she's saying she's detached from middle-class life. She takes a public and private position on policy issues.
Well, and that she supports open borders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
No, I think it will color the debate in St. Louis, no doubt. But how is Donald Trump going to get out from underneath this before then? Will be very interesting to see.
We'll see. Yep. Well, the time is now 10 minutes after the hour.
That's right. We're continuing to follow Hurricane Matthew's path as the storm heads up the East Coast, and we are live on the ground next. Stick around. Horrifying moments captured on camera as Hurricane Matthew sends waves crashing into the front porch of a Florida home. Sandbags useless in the wrath of this Category 2 storm. Parts of Georgia and South Carolina are battering 105-mile-per-hour winds this morning as the monster storm moves up the East Coast. At least 4 people, unfortunately, are confirmed dead, and up to 15 inches of rain could fall today.
And that's where our Caroline Shively is live this morning. Caroline?
Hi, guys. Yeah, things have gone from bad to worse just the last few hours here. The winds are now whipping around from every direction. They were pretty steady coming this way. Now they're coming every which way. The rain is coming in sideways. The power is out throughout the city. We are operating on generators here. Earlier, we were seeing the transformers pop. Looking like fireworks behind us. We saw one to the left as well. So it makes it hard to see how is the rest of the city faring. We're just not sure at this hour. Since we spoke to you about 45 minutes ago, though, we have a little bit of good news as we track closer to low tide. Remember when we showed you that park down there that was a river with white caps? The Savannah River had come over the wall and into the trees, into the benches. It has gone down a little bit. It has receded, but as we track back up towards high tide again, we expect that water to be up. Of course, this is the flooding and the storm surge is at a record level here. Overtopping River Street is almost unheard of. They haven't had a hurricane here since 1979. That was a very weak hurricane, so they're not sure how to react. They're not sure what will be happening in the city. What may be even worse in the days to come is the low-lying areas actually to the west of 95 where the evacuations were just voluntary, not mandatory, what we are facing here. In the coming days, it could get even worse there. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Caroline. Stay safe out there.
Yep.
Well, the man accused of the execution-style killing of an L.A. County sheriff was a career criminal. Trenton Lovell is charged with capital murder for shooting Sergeant Steve Owen. Owen was responding to a burglary when he went around the back of the home and was shot in the face. Police say Lovell then stood over him, firing 4 more rounds. Authorities say Lovell racked up 11 arrests, 2 of them for robbery. He now faces the death penalty.
And a Chicago cop, check out this story, brutally beaten by a man on drugs, but afraid to use her own weapon to stop him.
Wow.
Police say this man was high on PCP, yeah, it appears so, and smashed her head, the cop's head, into the pavement until she passed out. The city's police superintendent saying she thought she was going to die, but feared the media backlash of pulling her weapon on the attacker. The officer is recovering in the hospital. 2 other cops who stopped the attack were also injured. When you think about this, Kristen, I mean, this is what happens when cops are afraid to do their job.
Well, and the fact that she would let her head get pounded into the pavement and still think that she's about to die and still be afraid to pull her weapon.
You believe you're going to lose your life, yet you won't pull your firearm is indicative of someone who's more afraid of the political backlash of saving their life than they are of doing what they have to in the moment. And that's what cops face every single day and why these conversations really matter.
Good point.
It's amazing. Well, the time is now, I guess, 17 minutes after the top of the hour, and Donald Trump is issuing a very rare apology overnight, if you haven't seen this, after a hot mic moment.
How can you miss it?
You will be hearing about it all day today, but we've got it first here on Fox and Friends First. So how to turn it around at tomorrow night's debate. Our next guest has prepared some of the biggest political names for the debate stage.
Plus, we're tracking Hurricane Matthew, as we have been for several days. We have Team Fox coverage as the storm moves away from Florida and heads right for the Carolinas. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends First. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are gearing up for their second face-off tomorrow in St. Louis. But first, Trump has to contend with the leaked audio from 2005, the video recording of him making lewd comments toward women. If you haven't seen that yet, you will see it today. So how should Trump respond to this bombshell during Sunday's debate and get the focus back on the election? Scott Jennings is a Republican strategist and a veteran of 4 presidential campaigns. He's prepped candidates for the debate stage in the past. Scott, thanks for joining us this morning. You anticipate preparing for a debate. You don't anticipate a video like this dropping just a day before that debate. How is that going to change the way Donald Trump prepares?
Well, there's 2 issues really here. I think a decision has to be made about whether to put Donald Trump out there in a speech format before the debate. I would advise them to do it. I think he needs to try to deal with this in a live speech, not a video. Number 2, he was already going to have to deal with some controversies at the debate. The Machado dispute that he's had with Miss Universe, the New York Times story over his taxes. Those things were already going to dominate some portion of the debate. Now we throw the New York the new leaked audio from the Washington Post on top of that. So I think a speech over the weekend would try to help clear the decks a little bit. But clearly in the prep now, the number one term they're talking about is humility. He has to show some humility for these things, and sloughing them off as being, well, it's 10 years old or this isn't a germane issue. It's not going to cut it. So I think prep's now turning on humility and whether to clear the decks ahead of time.
So is this, do you feel like inherently then Donald Trump's going to have to be on the defensive, or is there a way he can control the flow of this debate?
Well, that is a great point. He does need to try to get the debate off of him and on to Hillary Clinton, and specifically on the economy. The one area in the Fox poll and other polls that have come out where he's still, I think, maybe more trusted than Hillary is on the economy and jobs and on the issue of free trade. And so if he can try to steer the debate back to those grounds, that's going to be a successful night. During the first debate, when he was on trade and jobs, he was beating Hillary Clinton. The trouble is now, though, in a 90-minute debate, you're looking at having to deal with 3 major controversies. And so getting out of St. Louis with a win means spending more time on the economy and jobs and less time on your own controversies and explaining them. And that's getting harder now because of what happened on Friday night. That's why I would strongly consider something ahead of time to try to reduce the amount of time you're dealing with that at the debate and increase the amount of time you're dealing with issues that matter to people's lives.
And you've also mentioned that, you know, a 90-minute debate is oftentimes distilled down to a few seconds or a few moments. What do you think would be a few moments? What would be the opportunity or a moment for Donald Trump to find that?
Well, given what happened last night, he's got to find a very human, humble moment to be apologetic about what came out on Friday night. I don't really think the video that was issued is going to cut it. I think he needs to show some real contrition that's not being read off of a teleprompter. He needs to have a real moment where he acknowledges his failures and shortcomings and tries to explain why he's still fit to be the President of the United States. Ultimately, it's finding a presidential moment. You know, he needs to show people that I'm human, people do make mistakes, and here's how I'm willing to own up to it. Not reading something off a piece of paper, but doing it straight from the heart. That is ultimately what people want to know. Can the president speak to you from the heart and mean it? And Donald Trump's got to find that now, given what happened last night.
Boy, that's going to matter. And on top of the WikiLeaks release on Hillary Clinton, where says she wants open borders and makes a number of other revelations, the ante has just been upped for Sunday night. Scott Jennings, thanks for your analysis. We'll see if there is that presidential moment.
Thank you.
All right, Kristen, over to you.
Pete, the time is now 25 minutes after the hour. The deadly hurricane making its way up the East Coast is threatening historic towns and leaving millions without power. We have Fox team coverage tracking Matthew creeping up the Carolinas. We'll be right back. It is Saturday, October 8th, 2016, and this is a Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew on the move up the East Coast. The deadly storm still packing 110-mile-per-hour winds and 9-foot storm surges.
Speaking of another storm, major breaking news rocking both campaigns ahead of tomorrow night's debate. More email trouble for Hillary Clinton as her Wall Street speeches are finally revealed, and Donald Trump issues a rare apology.
I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I pledge to be a better man tomorrow and will never, ever let you down. Let's be honest.
We won't let you down either. Fox and Friends First starts right now.
I'm Kristen Fisher.
And I'm Pete Hegseth. We continue our special Saturday edition of Fox and Friends First. Let's get straight to the latest on Hurricane Matthew. This hurricane is hammering the coast of Georgia this morning at this very moment as it inches into South Carolina. The Category 2 storm's northern eye wall lashing Hilton Head Island at this very moment.
And heavy rainfall and storm surge have been combining to trigger major flooding. Watch these waves just crashing into that window of a home in Palm Coast, Florida.
And while the worst is far from over, Matthew has left plenty of destruction, at least unfortunately 4 people killed so far in the U.S. as floodwaters also washing away parts of a state highway. Look at that video in Flagler Beach, Florida.
Well, we have live team coverage this morning. Rob Schmidt is in Savannah, Georgia. Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean is tracking Matthew in the Weather Center. But we're going to start with Leland Vittert live in Daytona. Leland.
Kristen, good morning to you. That highway that's washed out is about 15 or so miles up the road here and impossible for us to get to. The main takeaway from what happened during this hurricane, especially in Florida, is what you don't see, and that is any lights behind me. We're working off generator power, and there are more than 1 million people without power. And if you've ever spent time in Central Florida in October, you know that that makes for a very miserable experience. No air conditioning, no refrigerator, and there's a lot of people here who are going to be living like that for weeks. The police have been out patrolling, making sure there's no looting, as so many people are still out of their homes. As for the destruction, the devastation, certainly not catastrophic, but significant, especially if you're the owner of this gas station. For people coming home, there is still an awful lot of debris all over the place. We found this is one of those price signs for gas that flew away, sheet metal everywhere, and in the roads there are a lot of boards with nails sticking out of them, those kinds of things, making it very dangerous for people who are driving and on the road. We've often talked about this in hurricanes. It is not the wind, but it is always the water that makes the big difference. Video from St. Augustine, Florida shows the flooding there. A number of rescues had to take place as the water rose so quickly when you combine the storm surge and high tide. Truly a perfect storm. That perfect storm also really caused a lot of damage here in Daytona Beach, where tourism is the lifeblood of this community, and there is significant beach erosion here. It is going to take a lot of time, a lot of money to get that beach ready, especially considering spring break here, which brings a huge economic boom to this community, is just a few months away. Speaking of tourism, especially during this part of the year, tourism is essential to the lifeblood of Savannah, Georgia as well, and that's where we find my colleague Rob Schmidt covering Hurricane Matthew as it moves north. Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, good morning, Leland. Thank you so much. And we are still getting lashed by these winds. Pretty good, solid wind gusts coming through here, wanting to push me right down River Street here with the Savannah River behind me. We can tell you 130,000 in Georgia have lost power because of this storm. That storm about 20 miles to my east, just offshore, hitting Hilton Head very hard, and it really did a number on this area, more so in the past hour. You might be able to tell if you were watching at 5 a.m. There's not as much rain coming down at this point. The winds are still pretty heavy. But this storm, when you look at it on a radar, it's very top heavy. All that moisture seems to be on the top and maybe the northwest and northern quadrant of the storm. So once the eye comes through, there's not a lot of rain left on the bottom. And so I think that's what we're seeing now. We're just kind of getting these stinging little water droplets along with that same wind. But we're still very close to that eye of that storm as it goes through. Mandatory evacuation still in place until, until the storm moves through. There's a curfew also in place until the sun comes up. And then they're going to have to assess everything. And Tybee Island is right out there, not far from Hilton Head at all. That is the barrier island that is closest to the Atlantic. It sits right on the Atlantic. It'll be very interesting to see what the sun shows us when it comes up. What's Tybee Island look like? That's what a lot of people are wondering. Our hotel that we're staying in is full of people from Tybee Island that said, you know what, I'll stay in Savannah, but I'm not staying on that island. When at the time when they made that choice, there was a Cat 4 hurricane bearing down on them, now a Cat 2. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Rob, I know those stinging little water droplets can take their toll when they're just pounding you in the face for hours on end. Great job. Thanks out there.
That's right.
Let's get to Janice Dean right now.
That's right. She's tracking where Matthew is headed next, live in the Fox News Weather Center. Janice, good morning.
Hi. We're still dealing with this storm, unfortunately, and we'll continue to do so for the next 24 to 36 hours. So Savannah, where we saw Rob, 60 mile per hour gusts, as well as Beaufort, 60 miles for you. But we go up towards Hilton Head, and we had wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour. Myrtle Beach, 40 miles per hour. So Category 2 storm, it's still pounding the coastline. Hurricane warnings up for millions of people for South Carolina and North Carolina. And the storm surge still an issue, in some cases 8 to 12 feet, as the water continues to be pushed inland, and then fresh water flooding is going to be a concern as well. The legacy of the storm could be incredible rainfall on saturated ground, which could cause flash flooding and massive problems, as this area has already seen a whole bunch of rain, some areas historic rain over the last week or so. And looking at the path as of 5 a.m., you still see this Category 2 storm. Will it make a landfall? We're not quite sure, but this would be the closest it makes a landfall in the next 6 to 12 hours, so we'll certainly report that. But the bottom line is, hopefully by Sunday and Monday it will be offshore. And I know you've probably heard a lot of talk of, does this come back to haunt the southeast coast again? I mean, there is a possibility, but it will be a very weak system. So hopefully we will be saying goodbye to Matthew by weekend's end.
That is good news, but we never like saying goodbye to you, Janice. You do an amazing job. You break it all down for us. Thank you.
Thank you for the hair and makeup.
12-hour shifts.
The hair and makeup today was much needed.
The busiest woman, no chance. Busiest woman in showbiz. Thank you very much, Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
From a physical hurricane to a metaphorical one.
No kidding. This is huge. We are just one day away from the second presidential debate in St. Louis, and there is so much to talk about.
That's right. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's campaigns this very morning playing defense, as brand new Fox News polls show Clinton's nationwide lead over Trump shrinking to just 2 points.
And we have team coverage from St. Louis this morning. Mike Emanuel following the Clinton campaign.
That's right. But we start with the great John Roberts, Fox News senior national correspondent, and a rare apology from Donald Trump.
Peter and Kristen, good morning to you. The Trump campaign is hoping that it could turn around a firestorm of controversy that erupted over a leaked tape in which Donald Trump was caught on a hot mic making vulgar comments about women, saying that he wanted to have sex with a married woman, talking about the fact that he'd like to grab some women by the genitals, saying basically as a celebrity he can do whatever he wants with women. Here's part of that tape.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
The first casualty of all of this was a carefully choreographed event that was supposed to happen later on today in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. It was to see for the very first time on stage together the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, with Donald Trump. That meeting was put together by Reince Priebus, the chairman of the RNC, who called in a personal favor with the Speaker of the House to do it. Late yesterday, Paul Ryan and his team disinvited Donald Trump from that event. Speaker Ryan saying in a statement, quote, "I am sickened by what I heard today. Women are to be championed and revered, not objectified." The chairman of the RNC, Reince Priebus, pulled no punches either, saying, quote, "No woman should ever be described in these terms or talked about in this manner ever." And already we're seeing defections from the Trump support camp. Jason Chaffetz of Utah saying yesterday, quote, "I can no longer endorse Donald Trump for the presidency." there's a real chance that things could start to collapse around Donald Trump in terms of support from the Republican Party. So late last night, they got out there with an apology video, the very first time we've ever heard anything like this from Donald Trump, that was posted on Facebook and Twitter. Here's a part of that.
I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. I've traveled the country talking about change for America, but my travels have also changed me. I've spent
at the same time he was expressing contrition, though, he took a swing at both Bill and Hillary Clinton in that same apology. Listen to this.
Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days.
And in a tweet, Hillary Clinton responding to all of this, saying, quote, "This is horrific. We cannot allow this man to be president." Obviously, Kristen and Peter, this is something that could come up in tomorrow night's debate, so that you can bet in debate prep today with Reince Priebus and Chris Christie, they're going to be going over some possible responses to this, just in case, and I'm sure it will come up. Back to you.
Wow. Huge news that we're going to be talking about on this channel and elsewhere all day long. Thank you very much, John Roberts.
Thanks.
And now we head out to Mike Emanuel for more from the Clinton camp.
Thank you. Well, Pete, good morning to you. Throughout the Democratic primaries, you regularly heard Senator Bernie Sanders pressing Hillary Clinton to release the transcripts of her paid Wall Street speeches. Now an apparent hack of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's emails is shedding new light on what Clinton said behind closed doors. In a 2013 speech to a Brazilian bank, Clinton said, quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders." In a 2014 speech to Goldman Sachs, Clinton reportedly said she has trouble identifying with the middle class. Quote, "So I live that, and now obviously I'm kind of far removed because the life I've lived and the economic, fortunes that my husband and I now enjoy, but I haven't forgotten it." The Clinton campaign says it won't confirm the authenticity of these emails that were stolen from Podesta, released by WikiLeaks, although they are also not denying that they are the Clinton campaign chairman's communications. RNC Chair Reince Priebus pounced, saying, quote, "With today's WikiLeaks revelations, we are finding out who Hillary Clinton really is, and it's not hard to see why she fought so hard to keep her transcripts of speeches to Wall Street banks paying her millions of dollars secret." There's also the revelation of interaction, close coordination between Jen Palmieri, who was at the White House and is now the Clinton campaign's communications chair, and Jen Psaki, who was at the State Department and is now at the White House. They were trying to make sure that Secretary of State John Kerry was not asked questions in March 2015 about Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server during her time as Secretary of State. That has led Clinton critics to say, aha, close coordination between the Obama administration and someone who is on her way to the Clinton campaign to lead the communications shop. Pete, back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. From the basket of deplorables to the bucket of losers.
Wow.
The time is now 41 minutes after the hour.
We just heard from John Roberts and Mike Emanuel about the scandals plaguing both political campaigns today. But how will they play out in the debate tomorrow? Our political panel weighs in next. Welcome back. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both in damage control mode while facing fresh scandals this morning. This as brand new Fox News polls show Clinton leading Trump by just 2 points heading in to the second presidential debate.
So how will these new scandals impact the debate? Here now to discuss is National Executive Director of the College Republican National Committee, Gus Portella, and Democratic strategist and author of Crossing the Thinnest Line, Lauren Chevet. Gus and Lauren, thank you so much for being with us. So Gus, I'll start with you. How bad are both of these leaks for both Trump and Clinton heading into the debate?
Well, I think that, first of all, Trump's comments are simply indefensible, in my opinion, and he needs to come out right away, especially in the debate when everyone's watching, and reiterate exactly what he said in that video, that they don't represent what he believes in, and furthermore, they don't represent him as a candidate for president.
Lauren, I hear you
of course they
chatting over
represent
that.
him. Of course
Go
they
ahead.
represent him. This isn't the first time we've seen this. There have been reports for months that he's someone who has serially aggressed and degraded women who've come in contact with him. He called into this network the morning after the debate to insult a beauty pageant winner because she gained weight. This is a pattern. It absolutely represents who he is. There is nothing he can do to save this. It is absolutely irredeemable, and he is going to lose by historic margins in November because women turn American elections. They always have. They have since 1980, and they are going to deliver to him a humiliating loss.
Gus, is that what we're looking at here? Is it that bad, or is this something Donald Trump can overcome and pivot to big issues on?
I definitely think this is something that he should definitely pivot on, and something that he can definitely overcome. I mean, the last debate, he started off very well, especially when he talked about trade and stuck to the issues, because more importantly, the issues that truly even women in this country care about is jobs and the economy. And even the last poll showed that he is more trusted than Hillary Clinton when it comes to that specific issue.
The character
so if he actually
of this candidate
were to stick to the issues and obviously talk to the American people on those specific issues, I think he wins.
He could have stuck to the issues. It's too late for the issues. He has completely eviscerated his own credibility. You have record numbers of leaders within his own party who want nothing to do with him and who at this point are worried about control of the House and Senate because he's so toxic to their party. It's terrible for the country. It's terrible for the Republican Party. I take no pleasure in this, but there is absolutely no way he comes back from this. This is going to be playing on repeat for the rest of the cycle. It has nothing to do with whether or not Hillary Clinton is a candidate that people prefer. At this point, he has completely and totally self-destructed.
And Gus, this is a town hall format, not your normal debate format. He's going to be facing questions not just from Clinton, but from regular voters. How's he going to handle that?
Well, it's very simple. I think he needs to speak from the heart. I think more importantly, he needs to speak, again, like I said, to the issues, because this is what the American people truly care about, especially when you're talking about double-digit unemployment, especially among young people in this country. Millennials are going to come out to vote this year, and more importantly, they're undecided. And so this is an issue that Trump can truly capitalize on during that debate, especially in a town hall format, and talk about his plans and his campaign sort of plans for the future of this country and what he would do as president.
Well, this debate will certainly continue. Gus and Lauren, thanks for joining us this morning. I mean, Lauren says the comments will be irredeemable. Hillary Clinton has called voters irredeemable. We will find out which one actually sticks. Well, the time now is 48 minutes after the hour.
And as Hurricane Matthew continues to move up the East Coast, did you know that there are certain apps to keep you safe during the storm like this? Well, we're breaking down the best apps next. The threat from Hurricane Matthew is far from over. Massive power outages, unsafe drinking water, and flooded roadways could make cleanup a dangerous process. But fortunately for us, Kurt the cyber guy knows all about that. He was in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, and he joins us now with the tools that we need to track the storm.
I wasn't there on purpose. Good morning, Kristen. I wasn't there on purpose. But I learned a lot by being trapped in a hurricane. And it's a lot of people up and down the eastern seaboard here, whether you're at the top of Florida and you've just felt the brunt of the hurricane go by. Hurricane Matthew now up here closer to South Carolina, North Carolina. They're going to be feeling those effects today, no matter what. And wherever you are in the country, if you've got loved ones in this area, well, now you can tune in, and some extraordinary apps, including one, this is especially for recovery mode, one that is
Vintusky. Am I pronouncing
this right?
You
got it. You got
Vintusky.
it.
All
so
right.
you can have any smartphone, any tablet, and look at this amazing app. It shows extraordinary detail of wind going around, and you can drag a little slider and predict where the hurricane is going to be in the next hour. And then also, preparing for the recovery, you're in these areas and the storm has hit, you've been evacuated, and you're waiting for the news to go back home. Well, you can get a little ahead of the game here if you're smart about getting on Twitter. So if you go on Twitter and you find some, like local police is excellent, the fire department is excellent to follow.
FEMA, all the local emergency responders.
This is where you're going to find the messages coming across about saying, hey, we've just opened such and such bridge.
You know what else I like doing is creating a list.
That is so
Twitter
smart.
list.
This is a great idea. So create a Twitter list so that you have your police, you have your fire, and now listen to the water company. Your water municipality right now they're going to be the ones that say, it's safe to drink this water, because you don't know what areas of the water supply in your community may have been contaminated. So it's a it's such a brilliant idea. Just create that list on Twitter and keep an eye on this, because that's going to be a really good way to understand when it is safe to drink that water, when it's safe to get back home.
And one more app, it's my favorite app, the police scanner app.
Scanner 911 HD. This is one. So this right here, like Brevard County, as you remember yesterday, we had a lot of action there. So what you can do, you tap on this app, you download this app. I think it was $2.99 or $3.99 now. Boy, best few dollars spent, because it gets you right into your community's police department or fire department, and you can listen live, because then they're saying, hey, we've just opened the bridge, let them on through, and then before you hear that a half hour later, you already know it and you're waiting in line.
You're going to get it there first.
Exactly.
Kurt, thank you so much for being with us.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Pete?
Thank you, Kristen. Kurt and Chris are two of my favorite people. Well done. All right, it is 5:55 here on the island of Manhattan, and Hurricane Matthew is making its way up the coast to South Carolina after tearing apart Florida. Well, the latest, come back next. Water rising, horrifying moments captured on camera as Hurricane Matthew sends waves crashing into the front porch of a Florida home. Sandbags useless in the wrath of the Category 2 storm.
Trees toppled in Florida, and now parts of Georgia and South Carolina being pummeled with 105-mile-per-hour winds this morning as the monster storm continues to move up the East Coast. At least 4 people are already confirmed dead in Florida, and up to 15 inches of rain could continue to fall today. Matthew left at least 300 people dead in Haiti. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Fox and Friends First. Tune in for a special pre-debate Sunday edition of the show tomorrow morning. Pete, it's been a pleasure to be with you.
Indeed. We'll see you.
Fox and Friends starts right now.
Right now.
Good morning to you. It is Saturday, October 8th. I'm Abby Huntsman, and this is a Fox News Alert. Wow, from deaths to downed trees and a massive storm surge, Hurricane Matthew wreaking havoc all along the East Coast, and we have live team coverage this morning.
And an unprecedented apology from Donald Trump for his hot mic moment. Listen.
I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them.
This morning, new fallout for Donald and new information on who leaked that tape.
And that wasn't the only October surprise to break last night. This morning we'll get our first look at Hillary Clinton's Wall Street speeches, what she was trying to hide, open borders, among others. It's a big day in America, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad you're starting it with us.
But we do begin with a Fox News alert. Hurricane Matthew is bearing down on South Carolina at this hour.
Enormous waves taking over Charleston Harbor as 100-mile-an-hour winds fuel the Category 2 hurricane. The eye wall of that storm currently over Hilton Head Island.
And the storm surge flooding continues in Georgia. At least 4 people are dead in Florida, and major flooding is expected to continue across the East Coast today.
Who better to track it for us than Janice Dean? She has been in the Weather Center for many hours, but we're going to start with Jonathan.
You know what? I actually think Jonathan's live
Janice,
shot.
I don't know why I just said that. It's great to see you this morning.
I hope I don't look like Jonathan.
No, you don't. I had a bad script, and I read it in a kind of dumb way, but it's wonderful to see you.
And you've been working around the clock. I don't know how you look as good as you do this morning, Janice. What is the latest, though?
We have magicians in the hair and makeup department.
We do.
Okay, so we'll get to Jonathan very quickly. He is in South Carolina, and of course the reason we don't have him is because sometimes the images that we get go down because of the possibility for electricity to go down. The winds are gusting upwards of 80 miles per hour with this storm, and It's incredible to think that we had a major hurricane for 7 days, a full week, and it's still a Category 2. And some of the worst damage from this is happening right now along the vulnerable areas of the southeast coast, including South Carolina and North Carolina this morning. So sometimes it takes days to really find out what the legacy of these storms is going to be. And I think this is one for the record books. Now, yesterday around this time, we had wind gusts in excess of 100 miles per hour along the Florida coastline. And the future radar is going to show you that this storm is going to be with us for another 24 to 36 hours, not only bringing those hurricane force winds, but we could see upwards of a foot of rainfall. And the storm surge is still going to be a very big problem along these vulnerable coastlines that are receiving anywhere from 10 to 12 foot storm surge, which is the push of those counterclockwise winds across the coastline. And then finally, hopefully on Sunday, this will be out to sea and we will be done with Matthew. But this has been an incredible storm to cover, guys. You know, certainly one that I will remember in my 13-year career here, for sure.
All right, thanks, Janice. And we're going to try to get to Jonathan Seri, who's in Folly Beach, South Carolina, but the satellite there, obviously, with the winds is causing problems, so we'll get back with him.
We do want to get to some politics now. Donald Trump is in full damage control mode this morning following leaked decade-old comments that he made degrading women. Here is just a brief portion of that.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Fox News senior national correspondent covering the fallout this morning from St. Louis on the eve of the second presidential debate. John Roberts is live for us. John, what is the latest? What are you hearing this morning?
Abby, Clinton Tucker, good morning to Clayton Tucker. Good morning to you. You know, this really couldn't have come at a worse time for Donald Trump. He has been practicing very hard for tomorrow night's second presidential debate. He really needed to have a big comeback moment. And there are new signs that Hillary Clinton could have some brand new vulnerabilities with the leak of these transcripts of some of the speeches that she gave. So Donald Trump late last night, watching Republicans running for the exits because of what he said, issued a never before heard apology. This came right after midnight last night, where the campaign knew that it had to try to get out in front of this, try to do something to stem the bleeding. Here's a little bit of that apology from last night.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize.
But in the hours after the release of that tape, that audio tape, the damage had already been done. A big event that had been choreographed by Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman, that was supposed to take place this afternoon in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where Donald Trump would appear on stage for the very first time with House Speaker Paul Ryan. Donald Trump's portion of that has been canceled. Mike Pence will be taking his place. Speaker Ryan actually disinvited Donald Trump from that event, saying, quote, "I am sickened by what I heard today. Women are to be championed and revered, not objectified." Donald Trump has lost at least one supporter, one person who was in his camp. Utah's Mike Lee wasn't really in Donald Trump's camp. Jason Chaffetz was the one who was supporting Donald Trump, who said yesterday, quote, "I can no longer endorse Donald Trump for the presidency." Senator Mike Lee put a videotape up on his Facebook page yesterday, never been a supporter of Donald Trump, saying Trump should step down. Former Utah Governor John Huntsman also joined in the call for Donald Trump to exit the race, but no sign, at least at this point, that he's going to do that. In fact, Donald Trump, as he was expressing contrition yesterday night for what happened in that videotape, that audio tape back in 2005, also took a swing at Bill and Hillary Clinton. Listen to this.
Bill Clinton has actually abused women, and Hillary has bullied, attacked, shamed, and intimidated his victims. We will discuss this more in the coming days.
Now, what remains to be seen is what effect that apology might have on turning this around for Donald Trump. As I said, a lot of Republicans, very prominent Republicans, running for the exits. This is something that the Trump campaign cannot afford to have happen with a month left to go before the election. So we'll find out today when this apology becomes more widely known, because it's only been airing in the wee hours of the morning, Abby, Clayton, and Tucker, just whether or not it will have the intended effect. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
What a sad story this is. What a shocking story this is.
What you call an October surprise.
It's really of the highest magnitude I've ever seen, and it's sad on so many levels. It's sad for what it reveals about Trump's character, nothing good. It's sad for what it brings out in everyone else, a lot of sanctimony, almost unbearable levels of sanctimony, and it's sad for how it moves the debate from issues that really are of significance to the country. What kind of America do you want? Who should live here? To questions of what one guy said. I mean, the whole thing diminishes all of us.
You said the one word that went through my mind when I first read this being leaked out yesterday to the NBC and, had this hot mic moment. The one thing that I thought of was this is just so sad for this country because this has officially become the race to the bottom. Here we are on both sides. I mean, the bigger picture here, we are having both sides trying to argue who has been worse or better when it comes to women and treating women. And it made me think about the American people and the issues that we face right now, whether it's the economy or national security. And this is what we are talking about. This is what we are focused on 5 weeks before this election. It makes me sad.
Well, just think about the debate tomorrow night. I mean, he's going to be there because he says at the end of his statement, I'll see you at the debate. So he's not canceling that. There was questions last night as to whether that would happen. He's not going to do that. But then how does he turn the attention away from himself tomorrow night at this debate and talk about the economy? And the economy is one area where he's beating Hillary Clinton right now pretty strongly in polls. So can he start to turn that conversation around tomorrow night? He's going to be on the defensive the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think it probably will get much uglier tomorrow. I will say, though, about the economy, I don't know a single person who follows this carefully at a high level who isn't really concerned about where we're going to be 2 years from now. I mean, the amount of debt that the banks are carrying, that individual debt that Americans are carrying, I mean, it's tough, and you would like a kind of public debate about that.
Right.
In a forum like tomorrow night, but we're probably not going to get it.
But I also think, I think that's also why people have been attracted to Donald Trump and a lot of things that he has been saying, because he doesn't always stick to the script, and he's not always so PC, and that has been attractive for a lot of people. And here I think he might have taken it a step too far for evangelicals, for maybe independents, for Democrats who've been on the fence that aren't excited about Hillary Clinton, because let's be real here. I mean, it's not like people are running to the voting booths to want to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Not. And by the way, this brings out it brings out the worst in everybody, not just Trump. In the media, watching them, clutch their pearls last night on TV. What do we tell the children? Watching Hillary Clinton get sanctimonious about other people's behavior toward women. I mean, come on. But more than anything, obscuring a really interesting and significant story in these WikiLeaks.
Right.
So yesterday.
So yesterday, this is the other big bombshell of the evening, WikiLeaks. We've been hearing Julian Assange teasing over the past few weeks that there was going to be some big bombshell that would have sway on the election come out. We now know emails between Hillary Clinton, were leaked via John Podesta, of course, who's running Hillary Clinton's campaign, have come out. And these were the speeches that she had been giving to Goldman Sachs and others. We've been wondering, what was the content of those speeches? Paid to give. That the Clinton campaign for months has said, we're not going to release them. We're going through them. We don't think that it's appropriate. That it would show that maybe she would be disconnected from the American people. Well, now we have some excerpts of these speeches. And one of big bombshell is her stance on open borders. She says this in one of the speeches: my dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders.
So can I just ask you just kind of the obvious question? What would America look like if we had open borders? I mean, honestly, or if we had purely open trade, what would it look like? Would it be a better country? It would be a completely different
Germany?
But then she
Clinton would be a lot richer.
She followed it with this comment on her public and private statements that she makes. She says, but if everyone's watching, all of the backroom discussions and the deals, then people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need both a public and a private position. And we see the polling numbers when it comes to Hillary Clinton and the unfavorability and the untrustworthiness. And this is where it comes from. People see two different people, someone that is giving these speeches and someone that is out on the stump saying something very different.
No, I think I think it's completely true, and she's obviously a false person who's too afraid to say what she really thinks. On the other hand, I never do this, but I'm on her side on this to this extent. I do think there ought to be a place to express yourself privately, and that is one thing that nobody wants to say, but that's disappearing. I mean, personal emails, private conversations tape recorded and then released. I mean, all of us need a private sphere. I mean, how would anyone watching this like to be recorded in your private moments, or have your personal emails?
Look what it did to Mitt Romney with his 47%
or any of us. I mean, I don't know. Something's being lost here.
No, I agree with that, but should your statements be so opposite?
No, of course. I mean, she's totally a phony, obviously.
But I think you are right.
Or how would it have colored our past perceptions of certain presidents had we had that information before they were elected?
Well, how would you like your emails leaked? I mean, I'm not doing anything wrong, especially, but I mean, I have probably dumb opinions I wouldn't want want to share with the world. I don't know.
Right.
There should be some privacy.
What do you guys think about this morning? We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be diving deeper with our political panel. But meanwhile, we've got a Fox News alert now because cities are underwater. Right now, Hurricane Matthew slamming the Atlantic coast. We're live on the ground in Savannah, Georgia. That is next.
That is Hurricane Matthew grazing the coast of Georgia this morning as it pushes north into the Carolinas. Areas including Savannah facing destructive winds and life-threatening flooding.
And that's where we find WAGA's Doug Evans. He's joining us live from there. Doug, what do the conditions look like at this hour?
Good morning, guys. We've got 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts here in downtown Savannah this morning. The rain has stopped. It stopped about a half an hour ago, but the wind has not died down at all. We're about an hour and 15 minutes from sunup, and that's when people here, officials, will be getting out onto the streets and trying to determine what 6 hours of Hurricane Matthew has done to this city. There are reports of flooding. There are reports of trees and power lines down. About 80% of Savannah and the county of Chatham are without electricity this morning, and so officials are warning people just to stay in place. 25% of the city of Savannah did not evacuate. 75% did. And so those folks are waking up to still extreme conditions this morning, and they're just warning folks to just stay in place until Matthew is out of here. Right now, it's headed up toward Hilton Head Island, and it passed through here overnight. The eye of Hurricane Matthew passed within 30 miles of the shore here off of Savannah. There was great concern about the timing of Hurricane Matthew as it came through here because of the tidal surge. We had a tremendous tidal surge here. And as day breaks here in Savannah, they'll be getting out to see what kind of damage that did.
All right, Doug, live for us this morning in Savannah, Georgia. 60-mile-an-hour winds right there.
Yeah,
Thanks, Doug.
you can see it right there.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Doug. We already know what Bill Clinton thinks of Obamacare. Not much.
Got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it.
Whoa, the truth comes out accidentally. It turns out that was no gaffe. There's a story behind it, and we've got it. Stay tuned.
And with new scandals rocking both candidates, what will the impact be on tomorrow's big debate? Our political panel, they are here. They are ready to discuss. That is next.